Hello and welcome to the Quebber channel. I'm Jason, your host. One of the things I get asked is, if you can sit there in front of a computer, you can do homework. Why aren't you doing work? Why are you lazing about all day? People really don't understand how bad it is. They see me at my best when I'm focused on the camera. But let's go through, for those that don't know the full thing, I am on the autistic spectrum disorder. They no longer do the you've got or Asperger's or you've got this type of autism. It's now an umbrella term. You're on the spectrum. You're neurodivergent. Your brain works differently. It can be mild or it can be all the way to completely disabled and unable to even communicate, except with special tools and things. And then I have comorbidities. Comorbidities are added diagnoses that mean that I'm not just I'm autistic and I've got these other things. So I've got ADHD, attention deficit hyper disorder, and bipolar type 2. Now let me give you a very simple example of why I say that I have a very, very bad short-term memory. My short-term memory is so bad that if I was to sing a song right now, by the end of this video I would have completely forgotten which song I had sung. It would be gone. This isn't, my short-term memory isn't damaged, but my brain, and this is part of the angle towards ADHD, my brain is always full of information. Just give me a sec, just want to focus. Easy to focus myself when I've got these. I've always got thousands and thousands and thousands of things going on in my head at the same time. While I'm trying to focus on one thing, the thoughts of how many USB 2 cables do I still have in the house? Do I need to buy any more? Will they still work? How long does a USB cable last? Should I check what the degradation rates of USB cable type 2s are? Is there any data out there? That's one thought. Let's add some more into that, because that's just one thought. That's nothing. How many tins of beans do I have in the kitchen? Do I need to buy any more beans? No, I shouldn't buy any more beans. I need to start making sauce out of cheaper things. I should get some chopped tomatoes. How much are chopped tomatoes these days? Okay, if I get chopped tomatoes, I'm going to have to get some garlic. And then once I've got the garlic, I'll need some oregano and something else. And then, why don't I try making mayonnaise? I can make my own mayonnaise. Have we got any eggs? Don't know whether the eggs are in date. I'll have to check out the eggs are in date. Are the eggs okay? What kind of eggs are best for it? Have we got any oil to go with it? What about the other bits and pieces? Oh, I need some vinegar. You need vinegar for making mayonnaise. And a little bit of mustard is also nice as well. I should do that. That should be appropriate. I should do that. That's another thing to deal with at the moment. Are my Blu-rays downstairs all stacked in alphabetical order? If not, why not? Why didn't I do that? How long ago did I start thinking about stacking them in alphabetical order? Why are they not in that order? What happened? Did someone go into my house and change things? I should check the footage for last night. Did someone break in and change my Blu-rays? Over. I wonder how long the radiators are going to last. They still need to be maintained. There was a little bit of rust on them. I don't want my new radiators to think, do I have the money? No, I don't have the money to fix it. But then again, I have coverage, so I should be okay now. wonder when the weather's going to start getting better. Maybe. The weather will get better. And when the weather gets better, I'll have to test out the air conditioner. But I can't run the air conditioner. I'll have to balance things out with the solar panels in the backyard and see what I can do. I wonder how long I can run the air conditioner on the 2001. I'll have to take some studies up on that. Are my keyboards okay? Are they all charged? Do I need to change the batteries in the keyboard downstairs in the living room? I've used the same batteries in the actual trackball. I changed them both at the same time. When did I change them? I can't remember when I changed them. Should I change them? Where's my battery tester? I need to check the monitor down there that's broken to see if it can be fixed. If it can be fixed, I can try something and see if I can use it as a backup monitor. I don't know. I need to take it downstairs and plug it in downstairs. But the problem is the server's on the table downstairs and it's taking up the room. So I don't. It's where can I put the server? I don't want to put it outside. I need to keep it in the house somewhere. I need to keep it in the house somewhere so I can have access to it so I can mess about with it. I'm still waiting for the CPU to arrive. The heatsink has arrived. I left the heatsink in the box on the stairs. So the bottom of the stairs on the box. The postage man gave it to me and I put it down. I didn't open it. It's still on the bottom stair, on the steps downstairs. It's out of the way. I'm not going to trip on it. It's just there. I need to open that up and check and make sure that the heatsink is actually the one that I actually need. I should check it and measure it against the heatsink that's actually on the Dell server to just see whether it will work when I put the second. Where's my thermal paste? Because when the CPU does arrive, I'm going to have to use the thermal paste, and I'm going to have to set it on. I've never put a CPU in a server. This is going to be interesting. I'll enjoy that. All those things going on at the same time, while my brain is doing the song. Or whatever I'm doing at the moment. All those things going on in my brain right now. And I can't focus on just one. This helps. This helps me focus. This helps me focus. This is why I'm not downstairs at this moment in time. Opening that box and going in the kitchen and checking the measurements of the size of the heatsink to see whether it will fit. That's why I'm not off on one doing something right now. So that's the bipolar, that's the ADHD side that is always there, always in the background. The same side that means that I will watch a film. And now, if someone's in the house with me, I can sit and watch a film. It's hard. Or a TV series. This is why I like when BritMonkey comes, because we get to go through a series linear. I won't see an episode of a TV series and then jump to like 2 series later because, oh, that reference is that. Let's jump to the middle of the next series and check if I am remembering that right. Well, I'll start watching one of my favourite films and we'll get 10 minutes into the freaking... I've got like 400 films on my Plex that I've got 10 minutes into. Between 10 and 5 minutes into. I've either watched them and they come up with the front credits and telling you all the things. And all of a sudden my brain's gone, ooh. Wait, didn't this person star in this film? Let's go check that film. And then I'll hop to the new film and so on. It's not nice. And then at the same time, I have to balance. I want to play Star Trek Online all day. But I know if I did that within probably a week to 2 weeks, maybe a month if I was lucky, I would burn out completely in the game and I wouldn't be able to log on to it every day anymore. And another one of my coping strategies would be gone. That's a sad thing. I want to play The Long Dark all day, but I know if I did, I would burn out. And I've already burnt out a few times on The Long Dark, and that's not a good thing. So, yeah. Now, I've finished off the next to the last book of the Path of Ascension. I can't afford to buy another credit for that till tomorrow, to buy the last book that's just become available. My brain can't move on to the next book series. I can't move on to a new book series because I'd get halfway through a book and then I'd have to jump back to... No, can't do that. So my brain is... I'm balancing that with... I've started listening to one of my old series, Terms of Enlistment, Frontline series, one of my favourite ones. So I'm using that to help my brain deal with being away from the computer. It's not as good as listening to a new book series, but it'll cope until tomorrow when I can actually afford to get a credit. I miscalculated, but it wasn't my fault. The book actually, next book in the Path of Ascension came out a couple of weeks ago, and I must have bought all the Path of Ascension books about a month ago. So, I'm always fighting my ADHD side because it affects everything else. It makes things odd, even more odd than normal. And the problem is that... And that was a scam caller. I wanted to stay on the line with the scam caller on the phone. I wanted to actually be put through to someone and mess with them. But no. Now then, it makes it... The ADHD part of it makes it extremely hard to focus on anything. Sometimes I will sit here when I'm tired, when I don't have the energy to try to push through, I will sit here for hours at a time, just staring at my computer case or the curtain. And there's so much going on in here. What I showed you earlier was normal. Sometimes it balloons into even more. And I'm at that point where I just can't do anything. There's so much to do and so much for my brain to do that I am just stuck in a holding pattern, unable to make a decision no matter what. Then we've got my bipolar type 2. Give me a second. Bipolar type 2 is... It sucks. But you don't know it sucks. You really don't know it sucks. Let me just check something. To be defined as bipolar type 2, you have to have at least one depressive episode and symptoms of hypomania. So the ups and the downs. I spend more time in a depressed state. I sometimes feel that that's my norm. To be agitated, tense, upset, emotional, which really fucks with being autistic and ADHD. I feel itchy, I feel antsy, I feel I want to do things and I can't. A lack of energy, lack of joy or happiness or anything in it, all of the things that would normally make you happy. that would normally make you happy. It's rough. Because with everything else, I have a lack of energy anyway. So when these other things kick in, it's a fun life. But what's even harder sometimes is the hypomania or mania, manic situations where you boost up into the high, and for you to be, sometimes they can last for weeks or months, the highs. Now, not only is this even harder because as soon as you come off a high, you go straight back down into a deep dark hole. But while you're in that high, your feelings of joy and happiness and everything are completely artificial. You'll sometimes have seen it happen when I've been playing the game and I've been giggling and I've been jumping all over the place and I've just been bouncy and thingy, and it looks fun. But it's all artificial. It's artificially boosted by the episode. And the biggest and the thing you have to fight the most is the risk versus reward. All of your normal rationale goes out the window. If you have a credit card, you will max it out. If you have money in the bank, you will empty it on some silly stuff on Amazon. Which also gets leveraged by the ADHD, which wants, ooh, new shiny, new shiny, new shiny, and then grabbed hold, and they run with it, and all of a sudden you've got a new hobby that you didn't actually want, and by the time the stuff arrives, you're bored with it because you didn't actually want it. It was just... You'll add 23 different types of chocolate to your grocery list. You'll add everything you see on an advert on websites. You can completely destroy your credit rating and your financial security. And if you've got any dangerous projects around the house, you're more likely to fuck with them because it's like, yay, I'm invincible, I'm a god. When you start hitting that high of the high episodes, you believe you own the world, that nothing can touch you. It is like some of the best fucking drugs out there. And it's all false and it's all fake, but it feels real. It feels good, and you're not depressed, and you're not thinking about your wife's death, and you're not in that depression, and so your brain just grabs hold of all the wonderful chemicals that are coming off it. One of the biggest dangers with both the bipolar and the ADHD is they aren't in little compartments. They're all together with the autism. They don't have a set. They mix and match and feed off each other. It's me. That's why things are unique to every person. I say a lot, bad things can happen. Well, let's just imagine, and it takes a perfect storm of problems. Let's say one day I'm having a bad time, that I've either had a hyper and I've dropped straight down into deep depression, and then my autism decides it wants to think about Paula's death. Now, once you ADHD and autism kick in and think about something. It's like you're on a train track and you're not getting off that train track. You can't switch subjects. You can't move away from it. This might actually kick my PTSD and I might relive Paola's death again and again, the last 30 minutes of her life. Because that's what my PTSD is about. I experience it now and then. It's always rough. And when you come out of it, as anybody with PTSD will tell you, when you come out of it, it's as if you were back there and whatever happened, whether you were raped, whether you witnessed a murder, whether it was some trauma in war, you are back there. This is why when I talked to a grief specialist in 2019, they had to forward me to other people because the fact that my brain relives her death and the end of her life means I never get over it. Means at least, it's better now, but at least 2 or 3 times a year I'll be back there in November the 21st, 2018. And I'll be a passenger as I see myself arrive at the hospital, running up to the ward, running into the room and watching as these wonderful people try to bring Paola back. I will feel absolutely everything. From the moment of entering the hospital and pushing the door and going into the coronary ward, the decision I make to not go and wait in the quiet room while they work on her, but to go straight to her room. The decision I make to tell the doctors after about 5 more minutes of them trying their best and trying drugs and using ultrasound to check Paola's heart and then restarting with the ventilator and going on and these trying their best. And the decision I made when I turned to the doctor and said, "You can stop now. She's not coming back." Right up to the moment when I took her hand, when the nurse led me over to her bedside, when they moved out of the way and put my hand in Paola's hand, and I held her cold hand and I heard the final almost death rattle of air escaping her lungs and my world ending. I'll be back there. I'll be back there and dealing with all the emotional fallout again. I desensitized myself a lot about it by actually talking about it. Yes, there's always the danger of kicking it into gear, but not talking about it never helped. I have good days and I have bad days. If you ever see me streaming from the moment I get up to the moment I go bed, it's a bad day. Because I'm trying to focus on and connect to other people to stop myself spiraling down. I have so many coping strategies to try to stop this happening. And do you know what would happen? Do you know what would happen if I didn't have all those coping strategies? Or if this wasn't my safe space, if this was work and not a safe space, I most definitely wouldn't be around anymore. I have thousands of coping strategies to stop bad things happening. Different layers, different concerns, different worries. Most days I just have enough energy to function. But I do manage to function. I manage to stay independent. I manage to talk to people and connect and try to explain to people who are going through shit that they're not alone. And try to explain to people that have someone they care about that is going through shit what it's like. Because every disabled person is unique and has their own challenges and their own history. I hate the silence of the room. The silence of my room is so loud. I have to make sure I go to sleep before I notice it. Because if I notice that silence that deafens you, and some of you will know that sound. Those that don't and think, how can it be silent if it's deafening you? It's the silence of a tomb. It's the silence of a house when your dog dies. It's the silence when your wife or loved one isn't coming home. It's the silence of when your children's bed are empty. And imagine all of those, and imagine trying to deal with them with things like bipolar and ADHD and autism, and knowing that this person, even on a good day, with everything going well, doesn't fit in the real world and is fractured and dealing with things that most people never will. Do you know, 3 days in 1998, 3 days after Paola was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia with Philadelphia chromosome positive, I had learnt enough from the library that I knew how Paola was going to die. I knew how it was going to go. I knew the damage that was going to be done slowly to her body. I knew that there was no cure. And knowing all of that in 1998, and my brain not being able to hide it, my brain not being able to lie to me, I still had to walk into that hospital the next day and be there for Paola. She was my anchor. And for the next 20 years, every single day, the first thought in my head when I woke up was the knowledge that Paula was going to die. That Paula was going to go through pain and suffering that no one should go through. That her body will literally break apart. And I, the person who loved the most in the world, will not be able to save her. I am so broken inside. I remember the day in 1998, when my GP, who had been the family doctor since forever, took me aside and said, "I'm putting you on incapacity benefit. I'm writing the notes now. You just need to fill in the forms. You can't go to work." He had actually wrote in my notes from back then, earlier, that he had a suspicion that I was autistic and that. The only thing in my life that kept me going was my love of Paula and holding on to that anchor. I live via my coping strategies. I'm independent because I have so many coping strategies. I can turn on my arcade machine behind, and I can turn on Space Invaders, and I can be back in 1978 before all the bad things happened. I can be back there in that chip shop in Tenby at the campsite, playing that arcade game for the first time. And it gives me a break. It gives me a chance to have a breather. And every time I turn on The Long Dark, every time I play Star Trek Online, every time I talk to you on here, every time I go through my daily coping strategies on stream and laugh about ginger beer and talk about things with other people dealing with problems, it gives me a little break from the bad things. The bad things that have already happened, that I'm trying desperately not to let my ADHD latch onto, that I'm trying desperately not to let it trigger things. Because I don't need to see Paula's death again. The sad thing is, every single person, every single human being has what's called an eidetic memory, what we call perfect memory in the photographic memory. We have it, but only in certain situations, certain emotional, traumatic situations where our brain encapsulates that event and freezes it in time and can give it back to you at any time. And the thing is this, that mental energy that on the best days I have enough, and on the worst days, I have barely enough to scrape by, that I manage to function with all my side effects, with all my coping strategies. Imagine what's going to happen if they ever try to force me to get a job. If they ever want me to be a productive member of society. Imagine how fucked I am. Wow, 35 minutes and 44 seconds. Oh shit. A bit longer than I thought it would be. Okay, I hope you're all having a good day. Bye bye. I'll put a warning on this video.